Hi, everybody, and welcome to the DogCo Secrets podcast. My name is Michelle Kline. I am the host of the podcast and also the founder of DogCo Launch, which is a company where pet care companies come to grow and scale. Today, I am kicking off a new content series, and I am really excited about this because it's something I have put a lot of thought into that actually is coming off of an episode I did for the podcast earlier, maybe 10 episodes or so ago, about the scaling phases of your pet care business. Today is a deep dive on scaling as a solopreneur. What I am hoping to do with DogCo is to provide a pathway for companies to grow. When I had my pet care business, there was so much that I was figuring out. It felt like in the dark, like by trial and error. I just wished that there was a pathway that could get me through some of the difficulty. Don't get me wrong, when you're a business owner, you're going to have to learn how to figure it out at the same time. No pathway, no coach, no program is ever going to fully line that out for you. You have to contextualize it. But what I can do is pull these themes and principles that I'm studying and I'm seeing into a really cohesive blueprint for companies so that they know how to get from where they are to where they want to go. I heard a stat, which may or may not still be true. This is me going back into story time. I want to say back in 2019, I heard a statistic that the average person who works in pet care makes between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. I think that actually was the inciting moment of DogCo. DogCo wasn't even a thought. I had no idea that I would own this company or do what I do now, and I'm so thankful. But I think my conviction around hearing that and around, one, not wanting that to be true for me, and then two, just feeling like disbelief that that was the reality for so many people in this industry. That really fuels me. That really drives me. I think that started back then. So that's kind of cool. That was a full circle moment for me that happened just now. But what I want to do in this content series is break down the different phases of scale that I see companies go through and ways to get from one phase to the next, key risks in that phase and transitioning to the next phase, and then solutions to help you get one step further. So I actually am going to start this series with talking about transitioning from solo to team. So this is the on average like 0 to 100,000 a year. All numbers I use in this upcoming series are going to be approximate. The different phases, you hit that point slightly differently depending just on some different things about your business, like your pricing, what services you offer, etc. If you're a pet care business that wants to level up, then this is for you. The DogCo Business Summit is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, September 26th to the 28th. We still have tickets available, and we just announced that we are going digital. So you can get your in-person ticket or your digital ticket at dogcosummit.com. But I'm going to start with the solopreneur. So today is a deep dive on scaling as a solopreneur. This is, I hope, helpful content. I used to work with solopreneurs when I first started DogCo. I did start my business as a solopreneur and then transitioned to a team. I know that's not part of everybody's prerogative. I will say scaling teams is what I'm good at. So I hope you're probably going to get, a little bit of an encouragement that direction. But I do want to talk a little bit about what it looks like to scale as a solopreneur, because there really are two options I see available to you. Winding back a little bit, how do we categorize this season in your business? So it is just you, which is a totally valid choice. I know a lot of people that love being solo. They don't want to grow a team. So this season is going to be categorized by you're the one doing all of the work. Most solos that I know, by like the need of having it, have really good systems for one person. They take time off. They plan for that time off. If you don't and you're listening to this, I would encourage you to, because it's going to be a quick pathway to burnout if, as the only person working, you don't set some of that structure and boundaries for yourself. But as the solopreneur, your revenue is going to be directly tied to how many services you are providing. The longevity of your business is going to be directly tied to how long you can continue to provide those services. So when we're looking at how do we scale inside of that framework, I think we have two options. One is we look at scaling through the lens of scaling revenue through higher ticket, more concierge style services, basically raising prices, which you can, if you get in the right market with the right client type, you can make really good money doing that. Now, you might be providing more overnights than you want to be, just to be totally candid, but that is absolutely a pathway to scaling revenue, is going to be getting into these higher ticket services and doing more of these services with higher end clientele and just getting your individual prices as high as possible. Totally valid path forward. The second would be growing a team. And you guys know I'm partial to this because when you are growing a team, there really is no ceiling on scaling. And that doesn't fit everybody's agenda, but it definitely fit mine. I wanted to really accelerate my business to be a big business. That's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to spend the rest of the time on this podcast talking about that transition from solo to team. Some things that I recommend, some practices I recommend in this transition. We're going to talk about some key areas of risk of where you do need to be careful and where this can start to go sideways a little bit. For some people, totally figure outable, but we just want to make sure that if we can save you pain, that is my goal. I would like to save you all of the hard lessons I learned so that you don't have to go through them and you can jump to like bigger problems, which I'd love for you to be able to do. So if we are looking at transitioning from solo to team, one thing we want to be really aware of is the timing of that transition. I really recommend that you know your numbers, but I don't even necessarily mean your business numbers. I mean your personal finance numbers as well. When I transitioned from solo to team, I had two really clear numbers that helped me make that transition. I knew to the dollar what I needed to pay myself in order for this to be sustainable, like what my expenses were and what I needed. Like I had two kind of categories. I had bare bones. And then I had, we have a little wiggle room, which we want to be in the wiggle room category. So that was the first number that I knew. And then the second was with the rate I was bringing people on, how many visits I still needed to do in order to make that amount of money. Because when we first bring somebody on, the biggest reality, it's not even a risk, it's just a reality. Your personal income will temporarily drop because you're going to be investing in this team. You're going to be investing in stuff you haven't had to have before, like workman's comp and payroll services and things like that. It's going to feel like you are taking a step back. I encourage you to fight through that because it's temporary. But you do need to be committed to the growth process, I would say. If you're going to bring on a team, like there are a lot of expenses that go into that. So I'd recommend we are looking to grow and scale if we bring on a team. Because if we're just looking to get some clients covered, it might make more sense to actually reduce our client load to just keep the key clients that we want to have. Okay, so those are the two numbers you need to know. So what we need to be really careful about is the timing of that intersection of when you bring that person on. I think you want to make a choice before you do. How much margin are you going to free up for yourself and then protect? The best way I've seen this done, and this is going to sound like a humble brag because this is the way I did it by accident. I didn't know what I was doing. It just kind of happened. I would recommend building up a daily dog walking client base that you then hire somebody for these really specific windows of when that is. You fill up your schedule, you transfer it to them. You fill up your schedule, you transfer it to them. Not only is that going to let you build a really beautiful dog walking client base, it's going to let you hire hourly and it's going to let you hire for shifts. And a lot of bigger companies really want to transition to that, but it's kind of difficult when you're pet sitting heavy. It's doable. I've seen companies do it and I've seen them do it really well. But it is more difficult. So we want to make sure that we are setting you up well. And I think that system is the best way to do it from what I have seen. And I benefited a lot from that because it let me grow really quickly. I got really specific on which clients I was looking for who I was taking on, and what hours I was hiring for. That simplified the process a lot. What we don't want to do, in my opinion, is wait until you have so much work that, one, it's really difficult to find the time to even hire and train. And two, then it just have so much work, it can be difficult to know what to hand off. So I'd recommend we bring somebody on earlier in the process before you are at these crazy hours. Like ideally we hire because we planned for it and we want to make that thoughtful transition rather than hiring out of sheer desperation and burnout. I've seen it done and it's going to be a better road for you if we can plan for it. So I'd recommend that if possible. There are some basic systems that I really recommend you invest in before you start hiring if you don't have them yet solo. The first is software. Time to Pet specifically, phenomenal resource. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for an affiliate code. It is an affiliate code, just to be transparent. But I'm a big fan of Time to Pet, and they do have especially for this new product that they rolled out, which is Solo Lite. That'll let you start at this solo tier. I want to say it's $20 a month, something like that. That's going to let you start building out in the software, and then it's going to help you grow with the company. So I definitely recommend getting onto a software. And I also recommend going to on-site entry at clients' homes rather than keeping keys on your person before you start to hire. A lot of companies kick that down the road, just to be totally honest. And then they have a million client keys. It's a huge liability. They're paying a ton in gas and in time for people to switch keys back and forth. Keys get lost. I really think keeping keys on your person is a big liability, especially when you bring on staff. So I really recommend that companies go to on-site entry early before you bring on any team members, ideally from day one. If I could do it over, that would be day one. I never take your key. It has to be on site somewhere. You can ask for 2 forms of entry if that makes you nervous. But the biggest risk in transitioning to a team is going to be the intersection of like service volume to time to money. I recommend that when you hire 2 people rather than 1. So that way I would bring on 2 people at very low hours, because another risk is you bring somebody on at really high hours and then give them a ton of work and then they leave. Just a general practice for you as you start hiring, I personally recommend that we don't hire people at high hours. I recommend we hire at very part-time. Then we let people grow with the business as they demonstrate that they will be reliable, they are going to stay, because otherwise it can leave some really, really big holes, especially if you're hiring people between 30 and 40 hours a week. That gets really, really difficult for the business when they leave, especially when your team is smaller. Because, when we have 20 people and we have somebody at 35 hours a week leave, we can chop up those hours into like, you get 2 hours and you get 2 hours. When we have somebody at 35 hours leave and they're our only employee, we can't magic our time to fill that. So I recommend 2 staff, lower hours, and then we let them build up with the business. Specifically, just pro tip, with building up a dog walking client base and transitioning that over to them. So I hope that was helpful to give you some next steps. I also want to recommend, if you are thinking about transitioning solo to team, my good friend Doug Keeling has a phenomenal hiring course that's really set up to help you take those steps and feel clarity on that pathway. It's a phenomenal resource. I also have a promo code for that. So I'll put the link and the code. Would love to use it. Thank you if you do. But I really recommend that resource. Because, man, if that had been in the industry when I had my business, I think it would have made this process a lot easier. I would have felt like I had more guidance and more structure. And it also comes with a Facebook group where, he'll answer questions and there are people in there to support you. I'm in there actually, so I can help support you too. I hope this was helpful. Our next scaling episode will be a week from today. There's going to be a hot tip episode in between the scaling series just to keep giving you that actionable, quick content. And next week, I'm going to be talking about companies that are scaling from 100,000 in revenue to 200,000 in revenue, and what those really common key bottlenecks that they are going to face in their growth and how to dismantle them. So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time.